Hello, my name is Patrick Usher, and in this video I wish to discuss the idea that you find in a lot of different places, in most places actually, when POTS or postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome is being discussed, and that is the idea that the condition is incurable. This is something you'll find in a lot of YouTube videos where people discuss their experiences of having POTS, and they'll often include something like saying, I've been told that it's incurable, or this is an incurable illness. Similarly, you'll read of this in a lot of websites which offer resources for POTS. So, for example, the Mayo Clinic, NHS, and Dysautonomia International, and all will say that it is incurable. I read a Mayo Clinic article which the title of which was something like, there's no cure for POTS, but exercise has been shown to help. And that's the kind of narrative that is being put out. Now, of course, at the moment, there isn't a known and identified cure through research. So in one sense, it's fair enough to say this. Of course, it's fair enough to say this. But unfortunately, I don't think that nevertheless, when patients are told this, or when this is the general narrative from medical research, it's not quite accurate, even at that level, because what this does, when you say POTS is incurable, what is being forgotten is the S at the end of POT, the syndrome part. Because whenever an illness is classified as a syndrome, it means that although the researchers know a fair bit about it, they haven't yet identified the root cause. That's what a syndrome is. So it's a collection of symptoms, a collection of things that are going wrong in the body, but the cause has not yet been identified, hence why it's called syndrome. Cancer is not called syndrome. Rheumatoid arthritis doesn't have syndrome at the end of it, but POTS does. So really, it would be more accurate for patients to be told, you have a condition for which there is currently no cure, but only because we currently don't know the root cause. We may know the root cause in the future, and when we do, then there may be a cure that can be developed. That would be far more accurate and a far more hopeful picture. This is not the same. This is not the same as people who have an illness that is incurable when the cause is also known. It's not the same situation. This is a case where people have an illness which is incurable only because the cause is not known yet. So, of course, people may say, well, different causes are known, and of course, people do list many different things that can trigger POTS. But what hasn't been identified is why all these different things, and they can be very varied, why it is that they all lead to the same condition. And I think the answer to that will show what the cause of POTS is. And I'll talk more about what I think it is a bit later. But that's why, anyway, this idea is unhelpful. And because it's not very nuanced, and it leaves out the accuracy, which is the fact that it's only incurable because there's no cause that's yet been identified, no definitive cause. And so it's not, people will easily get into the idea that this means that POTS in and of itself, in and of its very nature, is incurable, because that's what we think of when we think of incurable, right? So that's why it's problematic, the first reason. The second reason why this is problematic is that people do get better. And I'm not just talking about people who follow the dynamic neural retraining system, which I'll talk about in a moment, or similar programs, and there are a few similar programs. But actually, there's a study that I read about a while ago, which showed that about a third of people with POTS in fact get better, and many of those third recover. Right, and this was kind of a study over time. I can't remember how many years it was, but they were looking at a sample of POTS patients over time, and quite a few of them got better. So why is that happening? It can't be incurable if people get better, you know. But what the active ingredient is in that cohort of people who do get better, that makes them get better and others not get better, that hasn't been studied, right? So some people are getting better, and there are stories that you can find on the internet of people who have recovered from POTS. There are quite a few on YouTube. There are quite a few people who've written about it. They use different approaches, or they hugely improve. So why is that? Why does that happen? So again, it can't be incurable because people do get better. People do get cured. So that's the second thing. So perhaps those people have stumbled upon the active ingredient, which will relate to the first point I made, to the actual cause of the condition, right? So far, two reasons why it's problematic to say it's incurable. You can't really say something is incurable definitively if you don't know what the cause is, because when you know what the cause is, you may well be able to develop a cure. So it's very misleading from that point of view. And secondly, people do get better, and those people may be inadvertently or deliberately, who knows, stumbling upon the actual cause and getting better, and some people do. Therefore, there must be a cure. Otherwise, no one would ever get better from POTS, ever. It would just be a decline or steady awfulness for life. And coming to the third point now, which ties in with a video I published recently, that the cause of POTS is already known, in that we know that POTS is a form of autonomic nervous system dysfunction, but the implications of this have not been studied enough, and particularly the brain, where the autonomic nervous system, of course, is housed, where it starts. When that part of the brain goes wrong, I believe all the other symptoms that we see in POTS can be explained, and I go into why on many other videos on this channel, and an hour-long talk as well on this channel, and also in my book, although everything in the book is on this channel. From that point of view, I'm now speaking more subjectively, more personally. I recovered from POTS a couple of years ago by following the dynamic neural retraining system, and I've seen quite a few other people who have recovered from POTS using that program, and I'm hoping to have an interview series, the first of which I've recently published on this, where I interview people who have recovered using the DNRS. But the thing is this, I believe that the limbic system, or the autonomic nervous system, when it enters into crisis, is the root cause of POTS, and that can be rewired using the intensive neuroplasticity-based program that is the DNRS. And I believe that this is the reason why people do recover, is whether or not they follow the DNRS, they may stumble upon some other way in which their limbic system ends up getting rewired, and then the other problems in the body can be healed up. So I'm saying this last point vis-a-vis my own personal, sort of subjective at this point in time, explanation of why I think people do recover from POTS, and why I think that one day the cause will be shown to be in the limbic system. And this may be sooner than we realise, because of the studies that the universities of Calgary and Alberta are going to commence before too long, which will include POTS, and it will be measuring the changes in the brain before and after 6 months of people who have POTS and who follow the dynamic neural retraining system for that time. That study is also going to look into multiple chemical sensitivity, fibromyalgia, and chronic fatigue. So that's really all I want to say about that. It's deeply problematic to say that POTS is an incurable illness, because it's not the same as an illness where they know the cause and say that's incurable, because in this case they don't yet or haven't fully identified the cause. So until that has been done, and until researchers have really thought very critically about how that cause can be changed, then you can't really say it's incurable. Secondly, people do get better, therefore it can't be incurable de facto. And thirdly, I believe, this is a subjective point of view, of course, I suppose as they all are, but anyway, particularly in this case. But I believe that the limbic system rehabilitation program as offered by GNRS is in fact pointing towards both the cause and effective treatment of POTS. So those are some points for your consideration. I hope you have a nice day wherever you are, and thank you for watching.